Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis, along with Bill Flowers, and this is an extra edition of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Bill Flowers, of course, is an Ole Miss legend. I will say that every time I bring him on the show. And we're in that time of year, Bill. Before we get started on everything, it's like halfway through camp. What sticks out to you about your playing days when it was like halfway through camp, mid-August? You're getting ready to go up and play Memphis. What's happening right now?
Well, I would say you are irritable, you're hot, you're just miserable. The two-a-days, we would you could not wait for those days to be over. There would be, when we had the true two-a-days, there would be, fights would just kind of like just happen everywhere because people are just so ready to get this 100-degree Mississippi heat out of the way. And so I could actually tell you that some of my fondest memories are two-a-days because you're just like, how did we get through that? How did we do that? So these are times where these kids they hate it, but as they get older, they're gonna miss them, and they're gonna miss them from sort of like skydiving. Like, why did I do that? That was stupid. But it's definitely a time where you're just ready to get it over with. You're preparing. You're ready to see the other opponent.
Yeah, the weird thing is, and I've tried to explain this to people, is after practice, seeing people almost race to the cold tub after a two-a-day practice.
Oh, I mean, the heat in Mississippi is like people who are out west are like, oh, it's 100 degrees. I'm like, yeah, well, or 105. You're like, yeah, that's just hot. That's not hot and muggy and where it's just hard to breathe. I mean, that's what Mississippi, Alabama, you have. You just that god awful. You walk out the door and it's drenched sweat. I can remember one of the experiences I had had to be probably my true freshman year because that was when the last time that we had true two-a-days in full pads. And I remember it was probably 100 degrees with that humidity I was talking about. And I thought to myself, why? Why am I doing this? This is absolutely brutal. This is insane. And you just feel like you're in a sauna with full pads on and just brutal. So that I'll never forget that one particular day. And I thought, this is the definition of insanity.
Well, to change the subject a little bit here and kind of do the same thing is Suntarian Perkins is making waves in camp as a linebacker that's coming in. And you would have the ability to be on the other side of the field watching a freshman of that stature when Patrick Willis came in that first year. What was that like?
Well, it was funny because people were going, oh, my gosh, this guy's incredible. And came to find out that Patrick was using the receivers cardio workout for his pre-camp workouts. So when he got into camp, he was running what the receivers were supposed to be doing. And when you see somebody like that, you know they're special. And so when you put the pads on, you could tell the kid was flying around. And it's cool to see those kinds of players because you don't see them all the time. But when you see somebody like that, you know it's special. So, yeah, it's definitely neat.
So it looks like Jaxson Dart is ahead. He hasn't been named QB1, but it looks like he is going to be the quarterback that takes the first snap against Mercer at this point. Everybody that I talk to talks about how much this kid has improved and how different he looks. What will you be looking for the first game against Mercer to determine if this is just people talking or, this is real?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I'm going to be looking for is for his ability to hit the ball over the middle quick. That's the first thing I'm going to look for. Last year, we talked about the inability to be able to get the RPO out of his hand quickly, to get the ball out fast. That's going to have to happen. I'm sure they're going to give him all the opportunities in the world to do that. And I'm glad that we play Alabama so quickly this season. So I think it's going to rush and say, hey, listen, let's put him in as many situations as possible to get him ready for Alabama if they feel like he's the guy. So getting the ball out quick is my number one thing that I'll be looking for.
So you got the Jaxson Dart, but also there's some receivers that came in this year that they're kind of newcomers, and specifically Aiden Williams, a true freshman. And I guess the hotshot freshmen that were in about the time you were would have been like Mike Espy and those guys.
Yeah.
But Aiden Williams is that special Laquan Treadwell type, it looks like. What are you expecting out of Aiden in his first year?
I think being able to give you the outside presence, large target, a great asset in the red zone. I think what's interesting is that it sounds like they're going to have, really good outside options, and then you bring in the Pritzker, the tight end. They're going to be able to secure the middle of the field. If you put Triggs and this new tight end in the inside, and you have two great outside receivers that can spread, that can take you deep, can give you the size that requires a safety to come over the top, that's going to help this offense so much. So I'm excited to see that. So I think his size and his athleticism that you're hearing about can help take the pressure off the middle of the field.
Okay, real quick, since we're getting in here, we just talked to Bill Flowers, and I think of questions back from the early 2000s all the time. Who was the alpha of that receiving room whenever you were at Ole Miss?
I think it definitely, Chris Collins, I would like to say me, but I was soaking 180 pounds, 85 pounds wet. But yeah, I mean, Chris was a great, he was a great leader. You had, I'll tell you, we had some studs, Espy, we had some great receivers. You had Biddle that had the speed. You had Kerry Johnson who came in, Mario. So we had some great guys. But do we have that one guy that was just an alpha, beast mode guy? I would say we all big contributors, and we all played well. But yeah, I mean, Chris, he was the leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very political answer there, Bill. Anyway, thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you, Bill Flowers, for coming to the show. And Bill's going to be on the show weekly, or at least a lot, depending on Bill's schedule. I don't want to speak for you, but he's going to be on a good bit as football season goes. And hopefully, after the Mercer game, we'll see that Jaxson Dart get the ball out of his hand quickly to Caden Prieskorn and those other type slot receivers over the middle.
Absolutely. I'm excited about that.
Yes. All right. Take care, buddy. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.